This is going to be a tutorial about the difference between components and articles. Just want to make sure that you're really clear on the difference between the two. I'm going to be looking at website here on the front end. This is the area where the public goes to see more about your church organization. And then we have the back end here, which I'm going to log into now, which is part of the same site. Here's your control panel or your desktop for your content management system, and you can see your software packages here and different things here on the back end. And here is your front end. Now I want to talk a little bit right now about the difference between a component and an article. A component is a thinking part of the website. For instance, your forums or your newsletter or your event calendar or your virtual filing cabinet or your donations or your online forms or your photo gallery or your online polls. Those are called components. And the difference between a component and an article is that a component can think. It's like its own software package, and an article is more of a flat informational page. Now, there are some plugins and things like a Forms plugin, for instance, or a photo gallery plugin that you can put a plugin into an article and kind of make it have the functions of part of one of the components, which is more of an advanced feature, and we can talk about more later. But for the most part, you want to think about articles as just being plain information, and your component as being an actual software package, like sermon component, all of those kind of things. They're all kind of like software packages. So you need to think in that terms. Now, on your front end of your website, there are different areas on there, and you know, you can get confused. So we want to bring some clarity, but there are different sections in here. You have all these side sections in here. These are all modules, which we'll talk about those later. The main thing we want to talk about now is the content area in here. When you make a new menu item, and for instance this particular menu item says next steps, let's go to the menu system here and take a look at that particular menu item. You can see here that next steps, if we go over here to the right, we can see that the type of menu item it is an article. And so we can find that particular page by going into articles and looking for next steps, which is right here. And if we click that, we can edit the page and it'd be done, or we can actually edit that from the front end by logging in and going to that page and clicking the pencil icon here as well. But for the meaning of this tutorial, you know, just know that that's an article. The menu item is pointing to it, so you can edit it from the articles. But then what happens if you have a section where you want to edit the event calendar and want to make a menu that goes to the event calendar? Well, or the donations page. If I go here to Give Online, I'll see that that goes to something that's got more of a thinking part on it. I want it to be able to take in the amount of monies that we're giving and make, and this donation component will actually track the giving and all those kind of things. Then on the back end of the site, I want to make a menu item that's not going to an article, but I want to make a menu item that is going to the actual component. So if I go here and I see Give Online, I can see that the type is donation component. It's not the article, but the menu item is actually pulling up a software package into the page. So it's got dynamic content right in the center of the page. Now when I go back to the control panel, and I can see from the control panel that we have different buttons and different places that we can go from the control panel here, I can click donations and I will actually see the donations that have been made and how much was given on the date they were given. I can export that, you know, for external uses for our treasury, and everything's here in a neat place and all in one place. And so a component is a thinking part, and an article is a flat part, and either one can be called into the page. Okay, so there's a big difference between components or articles, but on the front end of the site for the viewer, it all looks pretty much similar. It's just the fact that the component has back-end quote-unquote brains to it. It has thinking parts, and the article is more of just informational. So that's the difference between an article and a component. Now we'll be talking more in depth about the different components and how to edit an article in more tutorials to come. But for right now, that gives you an overview of the difference between the two of them. Thank you.